Does King Kong actually have anything on this new 4K release of Training Day? We're about to find out. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel. I'm Ken, and today we're going to be taking a look at Training Day on 4K. So this was sent to me by the good people at Warner Brothers, and I'm happy to get this one in a little bit early so I could watch it and review it and talk about it with you guys and let you know if it's worth picking up on February the 28th, because that is the release date for this 4K. Sent to me in this nice little 100th anniversary Warner Brothers gold slipcover at the top. That's really cool. Of course, we'll talk about this little thing later on in the video, the fact that it came in a Blu-ray case. So let's go ahead and jump into my thoughts on this film. This one came out in 2001, directed by Antoine Fuqua and starring, of course, the great Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke. So both Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington were both nominated for this movie for Academy Awards, and those are the only nominations that this movie got for Academy Awards. It was not nominated for Best Picture, which I found to be kind of shocking. Like, I figured this one would have been nominated, but just acting nominations for Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington, and which just goes to show you just how great those two are in this movie and together. Like, it's really the perfect pairing. They have such great chemistry in this film, and it's just fantastic. It really just makes the whole movie, like those two performances in this film. So they're definitely earned and definitely warranted those nominations for Best Actor. Ethan Hawke, of course, getting Best Supporting. Denzel, of course, getting lead actor recognition for this movie. You really can't. I tried to for a long time, guys. I really did. I'm going to admit this right now. This is a movie that growing up, everybody would point to as one of their favorite movies. Everybody would say it was Denzel Washington's best movie. There was other Denzel Washington movies that I liked a lot better, so I would always kind of push back on people, and I'd be like, no, he's better than this, he's better than this. Like, this is not Denzel Washington's best movie. For a long time, I said his best performance was The Bone Collector. I just really loved that movie. But then you got The Hurricane, you got Remember the Titans. Like, Denzel Washington's been in so many. It's like, how do you choose like which is his best performance when he's just always cranking out some of the best performances of all time? So it's really tough, to kind of figure out which one's his best performance, but it's hard to deny him that in this movie. And like I said, I saw this when I was a kid, and I kind of pushed back on it for a long time. Like, it's a good movie, it's not that good. I watched it again for the first time like 3 years ago. And I was like, I can't deny this movie anymore. It really is that damn good. It is so damn entertaining and engaging and thought-provoking and just like keeps you on the edge of your seat. It is so intense in moments. Like, I was literally like, I just watched it again, of course for the 4K, but I watched it 3 years ago. And I don't know, it held up for me again. I was like, I was still so engaged. Even though I knew all the stuff that was going to happen, I was still on the edge of my seat. Like, Denzel Washington's performance in this movie is so great. It's really a story of a crooked cop, which is played by Denzel Washington, which is so against type for Denzel Washington, playing the villain in a movie. I don't know if he's played the villain in any other movie. At least I can't think of any others off the top of my head. But I wish, like, because of this performance, I wish he would have been given, like, more roles like this, because he absolutely nails that bad guy, that crooked cop, that villainous performance in this movie. And I think he could have nailed it in others. I think the thing is, though, is that people love seeing Denzel as the good guy, and he's so good at playing, like, the good guy in most movies, the hero, the guy that everybody wants to root for. He's so good at that I don't think that anybody else wanted to cast him as the bad guy. So kudos to Antoine Fuqua or whoever cast Denzel Washington in this movie, because that was a brilliant casting decision. And it just goes to show you just the range. Like, nobody can say Denzel Washington does not have range as a performer, because he absolutely does. Like, his ability to play this dickish asshole, just like almost evil and sadistic character in this movie is just incredible. He's so damn good. The story of the crooked cop that's training the rookie cop, who is Ethan Hawke, and just kind of trying to make him almost turn into that crooked cop that he is. But the manipulation that Denzel puts him through is just an interesting dynamic that the two of them have throughout the movie. And I love the way that Ethan Hawke plays it as well, because he is a good guy for sure, but he definitely falls into some of that peer pressure. And you can tell that, he's kind of unsure about Alonzo throughout the movie, but he's still thinking to himself, like, this is a cop. This is a guy that's training me in this job. Like, he has to be good at the end of the day, right? Even though he's kind of taking me through all these, like, unorthodox, like, lessons and training sessions. At the end of the day, he has to be a good guy. So he's a little, like, kind of leery of him, but he's still, like, falling into some of those peer pressure traps that Denzel Washington sets for him. And it just almost feels like that kid in the school that wants to be cool, that's hanging out with the cool kids and doing the bad things. Even though he knows that they're bad, he wants to be cool. He wants to be in with that crowd. But at the end of the day, he ends up rejecting, some of the things that Denzel Washington wants him to do, which leads to the rift between them. Honestly, like, this is simply one of, to me, the more I watch it, and again, it moved up for me again, rewatching it. It's just such a good movie. It is definitely one of the best movies of the 2000s, in my opinion. I have to give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. Like, it almost hits that 5. There's a few things that kind of take it down for me just a little bit. But it almost hits that 5 for me. Like, it's almost like masterpiece level for me. Now let's go ahead and get into the transfer of this movie, because that's what I know you guys are here for, right? You want to hear how does this look? How does Training Day look on 4K? I will say I popped in the Blu-ray, and I had never owned the Blu-ray of this movie. The last time I watched it was on Netflix on streaming. I owned the DVD back in the day, but popping in the Blu-ray that came with this, I will say that this 4K is a substantial upgrade over that Blu-ray. Now, do I think this 4K is the best I've ever seen? No, I do not, but I do think it's a very good 4K restoration. It has great detail. It has a fine-grained structure. This movie was shot on 35 millimeter. So you have a little bit of that film grain in there and that filmic look. And I think the 4K just brings it out to almost perfection. Like I said, it's not the best 4K that I've ever seen, but this movie does look really great in 4K. Some great detail as well. Nice black levels. The contrast looks great. Everything about the level of detail that is brought out through this 4K restoration, Warner Brothers just nailed to perfection, in my opinion. Now, another comparison I'll make to the Blu-ray is this is a cooler color palette than the Blu-ray. Like, you'll have a lot of more warm colors on that Blu-ray, whereas in this one, it's more blues, it's more greens, it's more teals. They really just highlight those and bring those out. But overall, throughout, I mean, there's not a lot of opportunity to really pop, like the colors to really pop in this film. It's a very, I don't want to say dull, but just kind of dreary film. Like, it's taking place in LA, during the day most of the time. Like, there's some night scenes, which we'll talk about here in a second. But most of this movie is shot during the day. So you have that kind of just greenish, bluish, almost orangish in certain parts, a little bit of yellow green as well. Just kind of hue that's just cast over this film. And it's not the most eye-catching, like it's not the most popping in terms of like bright, vivid colors or anything like that. But I think that with the colors that they had to work with, the HDR is utilized the best that it can be. Now, where I think that people are going to have some problems with this and may struggle a little bit, and again, I got this in early. I haven't heard anybody else's thoughts on this, which I'm glad that I didn't, because I don't need anybody else's thoughts or opinions kind of weighing down my own. But just, knowing what happened with Heat and Friday the 13th, like this kind of creeped into my head as I'm watching it, in particular the end. But it is kind of dark in certain scenes. And again, I know some people had some problems with that with Heat. In particular, some of the scenes, where Alonzo and Jake go and meet Scott Glenn's character, Roger. They go to his house. Some of those scenes inside the house, and there's a lot of scenes inside the house throughout the movie because they keep going back there, very dark. And some of the moments, like, you can't really make out, or at least I couldn't. Like, it still looked good and I can make out stuff, but there's just little things that I couldn't see 100% as clear as I wanted to. And another scene, of course, the whole scene where at the end where Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington are fighting in that neighborhood, and they kind of spill out into the streets. And then the whole scene where Denzel Washington gets up and gives the big speech to everybody and says the iconic line, "King Kong ain't got shit on me." All that was very dark as well. So again, I don't know if anybody, maybe I needed to adjust the brightness on my TV. I never really did while I was watching it. But that's just something that stuck out to me. And I'm like, people had a problem with Heat, and that was kind of the same thing. People had a problem with Friday the 13th, kind of the same thing. I'm wondering if people are going to say that this is too dark when they watch it. And again, I'm getting this out there before anybody else, or before I've heard anybody else talk about this. So this is kind of just from my own perspective while I'm watching it. Maybe nobody else has a problem with it. But a lot of those scenes at the end were a little dark, so I could see some people having some issues with that for sure. But the one good thing that I will say is most of this movie is set in the daytime, so that problem is very few and far between. There's scenes in Scott Glenn's house that are like that, and then all the stuff at the end, like the last 15-20 minutes, again, kind of hard to see. But I mean, you can still make stuff out, you can still see stuff, but it's just, to me, it's a little bit darker than I would have wanted it to be. But that, again, that could have just went into how the actual film was made, and maybe all that's just the natural state of it and how it should look. Because that's the thing with 4K, guys. It kind of reverts the film, whereas Blu-ray kind of enhanced the colors and really made stuff brighter and more vivid. 4K is really taking it back to that natural, like, film state that it was initially in when it first came out in theaters or when it was first made. So you got to take that into account as well. So it's not a big issue. It's just something that I noticed and something that I'm very curious about what's going to be the general consensus of this when it actually comes out on 4K in stores and everybody gets a hold of it. Now, getting into the audio, this was a really nice surprise because I actually didn't realize this was going to have Dolby Atmos. And I'm just listening to this on a soundbar that can simulate the Dolby Atmos, and I have a subwoofer and all that. So I don't have that full Atmos setup, but it does simulate the Dolby Atmos, and I think it does a pretty decent job. Again, I know it's not the full Atmos setup, and if you have Atmos, you're going to say, it's not even comparable, Ken. It's not even comparable, but it sounded really good to me, and I was pleasantly surprised that this had Atmos, and I didn't even know it when I put it in, and I'm listening to it. I'm listening to the cars rev up. I'm listening to the tires screeching, people driving down the streets, the car chases, and my living room, my room down here in the basement was literally rumbling. Like I could feel the reverberations. I was like, is this Dolby Atmos? And I looked at it and it was. I was like, holy shit, this sounds great. The gunshots, there's a lot of like gunshots and gunplay in this movie. That whole scene where Denzel just pulls I love the two guns he pulls out and starts freaking wailing on people, shooting them. All that stuff sounded fantastic. So that Dolby Atmos was definitely a welcomed upgrade over the 5.1, which is what the Blu-ray had. And I mean, yeah, with all the rumbling, like you could feel it. Like when they first take off in that car and then the music starts hitting. This movie has such a great like early 2000s hip hop soundtrack. It just brings me back to my childhood, my teenage years. It's so good. But yeah, when you have those car chases, the tires squealing, the shootouts, it all makes for an incredibly immersive experience in Dolby Atmos. So I think the sound in this is honestly like the standout of this 4K release. So it's so good. I think they did an incredible job with the Atmos here. So let's go ahead and get into the packaging real quick. So it's a great slipcover, You got the gold banner. I love that gold banner. I love this 100th anniversary thing that Warner Brothers is doing. I think it's super awesome, but it's a nice glossy slipcover right here. I'll go ahead and show off the spine, and then we'll show off the back real quick. Got a nice image on the back right there. Special features, which I'll go ahead and cover that real quick. They did not add anything new in terms of special features here. Just all the stuff that was previously present on the Blu-ray disc. You have additional scenes, alternate ending, theatrical trailer, training day, crossing the line. You get 2 music videos. You get Nelly's Number One, which again, super nostalgic for me. But yeah, just a nice, back right here. I love the gold banner right here. And you got all the specs and all that good stuff at the bottom. But you take it out of the slipcover. And I don't know if this is going to be the case for everybody. I don't know if Warner Brothers just ran out of 4K cases when they were sending out the review copies, and they put all of our 4Ks in Blu-ray. So when I first got this in the mail and I slipped this out of the slipcover, I freaked out. I'm like, what is going on? They sent me a Blu-ray. I'm not going to get to watch this 4K. I'm not going to get to review this and talk about it. But I opened it up, and the 4K, and you do get a digital code in here as well. The 4K disc was in here, and you also get that Blu-ray disc as well. So all was well. I got the 4K disc, but it's in a Blu-ray case. So again, another thing that I'm very curious on when everybody else gets their hands on this 4K, is it going to come in a 4K case, or is this something that Warner Brothers is doing now? Are they putting their 4Ks inside of Blu-rays? Because I've seen all the other reviewers and stuff on TikTok and Instagram, and I don't know if I've seen anybody review this on YouTube yet, but I've seen everybody else get this, and they all have the Blu-ray case as well. So I'm wondering when this comes out next week, February the 28th, is everybody going to have this in a Blu-ray case and not a 4K case? And what is going on there? Is that going to be the new standard with Warner Brothers, or was it just a one-off? Did they run out of 4K cases? I don't know, but it definitely drives my OCD crazy because I'm already looking like in the back. It's like, what junk 4K do I have that I can switch the case out and put this in a nice 4K case? Because I cannot keep this in a Blu-ray. I got to put this in a 4K case. And I imagine most collectors that get this on 4K are going to have the same like OCD problem as well. So yeah, we might have to be buying some 4K cases off of Amazon to switch this out. But I don't know what happened, guys. I really don't. I have no idea what happened there, but that's something to definitely look out for. So this 4K, again, like I said, is going to be available on February the 28th. I will link it down below in the description, the Amazon link for this. It will be an Amazon affiliate link. So if you use that, you will be supporting the channel. This is going for $24.96. And I have to say, all in all, this is a great movie. I think the transfer was really solid. Not the best that I've ever seen. Again, a little dark, which is the only negative that can really hold against it. But the sound is really a standout of this release. The Dolby Atmos just really sounded fantastic. So overall, I do recommend that you pick this up. I think that you will be happy with this transfer. But yeah, guys, that's the review of Training Day on 4K. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment down below your thoughts on this if you're going to be picking it up. Also, turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.